right. Well, yeah, let's kick this thing off. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Hopefully, everybody can see the presentation. We'll run through this very quickly. I don't have a whole lot of business to talk through. Moyez, you brought up the well. That's sorry, my cat is on the on the keyboard, helping me out. Thank you, girl. So, welcome to the April 2023 Dallas Salesforce Developer User Group. Just a quick introduction. Moyez and I have been doing this for a long time. Moyez, our founder here. Anyway, I don't want to go through this. I'm really excited about getting to the presentation. So we're just going to scream through our usual suspect slides. Feel free to get in touch with me if you have ideas about what you want to present at the group. We usually go a little bit more into news and local community events. The only one that I have on the radar for this week is Texas Dreamin' is coming up, and we'll be down at Texas Dreamin'. There's somebody asking me what room we're in. And I'm going to let them know. I don't know who that is.
Let me just add something to the Texas Dreamin'. Sarah is presenting a paper there on various topics of AI, not necessarily generative AI, but kind of the state of the there's a good word, the state of the frenzy around AI. So she'll be speaking to that at Texas Dreamin'. So show her some support if you're going to be down there, attend her session.
Great. Yep. If you want to drop that in the link, that'll help. Drop that in the chat, Sarah.
Perfect. Thank you, Paul. Thanks, Dad.
Of course. It's what I do.
And we're doing a some kind of Dev and Donuts one of the days. I'm looking for details on that.
Yeah, I don't know that I've done much on that. I guess I should get off my duff and do something about that. We'll figure it out. We'll do something cool.
There is a breakfast that is already happening on Thursday morning. So I highly encourage everyone to go to that, and you can see it in the WOBA, I guess that's how you pronounce it, that app. But there's lots of fun stuff happening.
Okay, can I get donuts?
I'm sure you can.
All right. There you go, Paul. You and I are set.
All right, outstanding. So we try to organize this group and bring in topics related to the dev and architect ecosystem. So we are always looking for people that want to come in and be champions for the different topics or different things that chip into what we need to know and what we need to keep up on as devs. These are our current Stack champions, so everybody is responsible for gathering exciting news that's going on. The nonprofit stand-up, Moyez is running that. We just finished doing that for It's Going to Be Okay this year. Renee has asked to be the machine learning and AI Stack champion. Nathan Schulman is the LWC and JavaScript Stack champion. We don't have anybody in integrations currently or in platform dev. We had Steve Mollis on a couple years ago. I may just make him the honorary formula champion. I'm trying to bring new and exciting flow stuff. And then Apex and CLI security was Waqas Nasir. He's part of Digisec. He hasn't been able to attend a lot. I think he's had some interesting stuff go on with his company. So in a good way. So we haven't seen him as much as we'd like, but Waqas has been that. But if anybody's interested in participating and helping bring topics or content, hunt down good speakers like Saurabh, please let me know, because we could always use the help. Building out our ledgers.
Can I throw out a topic for maybe later in the year? You know, Salesforce, the CLI has kind of morphed from the SFDX to the SF platform. And I'd love to hear a little bit about, what's the underlying technology behind it? Why did they make that change? What is the trajectory of the CLI? If anybody in the group kind of is excited about those changes, I'd love to hear a presentation on that.
Cool. I'll reach out. Maybe we can inspire him to come back. He may have some connections on that, since his product heavily uses that to read Salesforce. Cool.
Yeah. For anybody on this group, right? I mean, we've got a nice group of experts on the call. If somebody wants to step up, just reach out to me or Paul, and we'll see if we can schedule that.
Yeah, sounds good. And the Moyes Minute. Moyes, do you have any other knowledge for us? Right on time with your slide.
I just used up my minute, right? I want to see the changes coming to CLI. Texas Dreamin', excited about that. I just saw a promo from Dreamforce where they sent us to not sign up, right? Just to be kept informed. I think they're ready to start with, here's the sign up and here's the early sign up and call for speakers. Here's the link for that. Before they publish all of that, they're amassing a small list. So I saw that. I'll look for it during the course of this meeting and put it on chat. So yeah, that's kind of what I've got to say. I mean, ChatGPT obviously is the big thing. We're going to hear about that. But yeah, that's me.
Okay, that's great. All right, I'm going to hop back right here. So we are very happy to have Saurabh here. I've been hunting Saurabh as a speaker for quite some time. I think I started asking you about 2-3 years ago about speaking on different topics, and lo and behold, you've got a different company now and have managed to find time for us. So I won't probably do a better job of introducing you than that. I will let you correct that. Hopefully all of your team has all the rights they need. I will stop presenting and let you present and hop back over and go back to Zoom coordinating. But
all right, thank you so much, Paul. Really appreciate it, and it's definitely my pleasure to be here with your group here, and it's incredible. I see a lot of very interesting conversations. Really appreciate everybody's time today. So let me quickly share my screen, shut some of these other things, let it run presenter view. All right, and then share screen, and let me know if you can see it all right.
Yep, I can see just fine.
All right. Okay. So I'm glad to hear, some of the conversation around ChatGPT and some of the concerns around it. Definitely a very interesting topic, very interesting time for all of us to be alive and witness this change. We're going to talk through a bunch of things, and I'll also introduce myself, but I thought this is a more important thing. So we'll talk a little bit about what's happening in this space, what are the possibilities, what you can and cannot do today. Obviously, Salesforce is doing Einstein GPT. A lot of other things are happening, a lot of hype, a lot of noise, and probably a lot of possibilities. We'll talk about how we see some of these things in terms of sales productivity, support, renewal, customer success, and what are the challenges when you think about usability, adoption, security in particular about this. We'll talk a little bit about what GPTfy is, show a little bit of how we are thinking about this problem, and what does it really buy you, your organization, your customers. Talk a little bit about how we are thinking about pricing this, and question and answer. We also have a pretty big webinar this Friday. I have like 700-800 people registered. So more than welcome to attend, but this is, you guys are getting the early preview. Thanks to Paul. This is the early preview of what we'd have there. But given the size of the group and everything, if there are questions, please do put them in the chat. What I'd like to do is get through a lot of this, but if you think your question really needs attention at that point, it's better ask there. Absolutely feel free to stop. I love an engaging fireside chat type format. Otherwise, we'll just take them at the end. I have some of my teammates here, and they can also add links, answer anything that doesn't need all of us to be aware of, I guess. All right, with that out of the way, a little bit about me. My name is Saurabh Gupta. I am the co-founder and CEO, should say co-founder there, of GPTfy and Cloud Compliance. I spent about 7.5 years at Salesforce, and prior to that in other roles. And predominantly, I'm an enterprise architect. I have a diverse background in design and business, but I somehow ended up doing this. I'm based in the Chicago area. And we really started about 4.5, almost close to 5 years now. We started in the data security and privacy space. So, if, as Paul, you were mentioning, if you guys decide, if you would like to have a follow-up webinar at some point, we do like a lot of very in-depth data security, privacy type conversations, and we have a whole webinar around it. We recently did it, I think, for Dallas Fort Worth Architect Group. And it was fairly well received. But anyway, so that's the background. We're an AppExchange ISV partner. We don't do consulting, 100% product focused. So we cut our teeth in data retention, data masking, right to be forgotten, portability for GDPR, CCPA, CPRA. So privacy, compliance, security, that's the background we come from. And we've been very fortunate in the last couple of years to have some, very interesting and impressive customers who have trusted us. Our claim to fame in a lot of things we do is we are 100% native. So everything that we do today is done natively. So that's the background from which we come to this forum. And this is where this built the foundation of us getting into GPTfy. I'll get to that in a minute. But I also wanted to acknowledge the earlier comment around Texas Dreaming. We are one of the sponsors, and we are at booth 15. So if you happen to be in Austin during that time, please do swing by. We'd love to chat, catch up, get some food, drinks, etc. And I'm also planning to, I have a lot of friends in the Dallas area. So Paul, I am planning to visit Dallas, and I didn't realize this earlier, but after this conversation, if it makes sense, we can coordinate and, maybe we can do an event or something together.
Yeah, would love to. That'd be fantastic.
Cool. All right. So let's talk a little bit about GPTfy and what happened, why am I here? I will start with this admission. I'm not an AI expert at all. I don't understand machine learning AI. So my understanding of it is a couple of months, much like most of, some of the folks here. What I do understand fairly well is Salesforce users, their challenges, and security privacy. That's the space I come from. So our take on it may be dramatically different from some of the other things that you may have heard or talked about. When we heard about, ChatGPT, and one of the customers I was talking about, they were very concerned. They are so concerned that they're like, people will copy data out of Salesforce, stick it in Chat, GPT, and just get responses, summarize things. And all of that data is essentially being retained by ChatGPT. Of course, they've made some changes in their privacy policy recently, but you may have heard Samsung had some incident where their engineers copied in some machine, code and error messages, and all of that is retained. And it was part of their terms earlier where they said, we will retain data, we will look at it to make sure, people are using our product appropriately. But basically what that means is you may right now have a risk where people are just doing this. No bad intention, just how we use Google for search. People are using ChatGPT. And that kind of led us down this path because we are all about security. We understand Salesforce and security pretty well. And that's how we got into this. We spent about the last 3, 4, or 5 months just talking with a lot of different Salesforce customers, our existing customers, prospects, large enterprises. And the thing that came out of all of those conversations was, even forget AI for a second and all ChatGPT and all these other generative technologies and all the cool stuff they will do and how we will all be unemployed, right? Forget all of the conversation around it. The thing that came out with every conversation I had was that everybody's overwhelmed. A lot of companies have laid off people. Everybody's asked to do more with less. Salespeople are just overwhelmed. They have like so many technologies. They're just kind of, babysitting technologies. They're just the nanny between this tech and this tech and this tech. Copy it from Salesforce, put it somewhere, go into Apollo or some, Zoom info, get information from there, put it here. There is just so much of this. And the default answer in the last 3-4 years of most companies that are, undergoing digital transformation has been to continually buy more tools. So as a result of this, everybody, whether they're sales, customer success, marketing, finance, operations, people like us, right? You come from consulting, tech, whatever the background is, we are all overwhelmed. There's so much notifications, so much grunt work. I am kind of writing emails, summarizing stuff. And what we realized was there is a promise in AI, but I think the hype kind of is, killing it a little bit. The promise in AI is, the way we've understood it so far, is that it can really add as an assistant of sort. It's the next version of how we were templatizing things, right? So it can give me a better drafted email. It can give me a better drafted summary than whatever else I was doing till now. And then I can take that and modify it. So instead of starting from scratch, I'm starting with a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and a little bit more context, more quality, fine-tuned models, so on and so forth. The idea that it'll come and do everything that I can do today, right now, I'm not seeing that as something that our customers are worried about. What they're worried about is, can I really leverage this in a manner where it reduces the grunt work, the mundane stuff that my very, overtaxed employees and team members are overspent on, right? How do I reduce that burden, that grunt work? And how can I do this securely? How can I do this without incurring a significant amount of technical debt? How can I do this natively from within Salesforce? How can I do this without spending millions of dollars? That's sort of what we've heard so far. Before I go much into it, if you have any comments, please do put it in chat. If you think any of this where you need to add your own perspective, please do feel free. I'll continue otherwise. All right. So with that, here is kind of what AI is coming and what we think it can do for us, right? Very, very simple use cases, some of them, and then more complex as we keep going. And you may have heard this, you may have seen demos of Salesforce Einstein GPT, a couple of other folks are building stuff, right? There's a lot of this kind of stuff. It can write better emails because we can give it more context. So it's not like an email template, it has context, we can provide it. It can summarize information. When I spoke with people, I could not believe that I missed this. Like, so many of us are ending up spending so much time doing account summary. If you're a customer success person or an AE, you're doing summary for pipeline calls, you are doing summarization for so many different things. Yeah, it does a decent job of it, but I find it a hit and a miss. What I do find very impressive about this is that it can give me a reasonably good draft, and I can then take the draft and do stuff with it. Similarly, it can give me a sentiment analysis and intent analysis. This we think is very powerful, and we'll show you some of this stuff. I think it's really useful if you are a services organization, if you are looking at digital transformation. One of the really interesting things I heard from a lot of Bay Area tech companies in particular is the vision of digital transformation for a lot of companies is to move away from transactional sales into more sort of subscription sales, more renewal focused. So if your revenue was coming 70-80% from new sales versus 20-30% from existing or renewals, there a lot of digital transformation is about increasing the share of pie in renewals, because renewal is significantly more attractive in the longer run to make sure that you have stable revenues coming in and things like that. And sentiment analysis, intent analysis, some of the qualitative things that AI can do are a very interesting differentiator from sending somebody a survey or applying some sort of business intelligence type aggregations. So these are the things that we have kind of played with and we find quite interesting. Then there are other things that I think are more sort of advanced use cases. We are quite interested in solving them. We are looking at them. There's a lot of AI technology out there that is claiming to solve that. but we are just kind of going gradually to see how all of this fits together. So whether it is complete my RFPs, right? Very standard, you get some 20, 30 question, 250, depending on the customer, whoever you're selling to. And a lot of them is very boilerplate. Your terms, your conditions, are you SOC2 compliant? Where is your data residing? All that kind of stuff. So things like that, things like, kind of matchmaking, find me the best candidate for a position or assignment. If you run an HR, a placement type organization, if you're a very large, we spoke with this very large advertising and media agency, and they're like, well, we are bidding on a new project. We want AI to be able to literally say, sure, you're trying to do this. Well, Paul in Texas has spent 10 years doing this kind of stuff. He's a really good person to be in the portfolio and in your pitch deck, and you maybe want to talk to them and literally do that while you are, preparing your sales proposal, those kind of things. And then you have a lot of fine-tuned AI use cases. I think Salesforce has a significant opportunity with the Einstein GPT in this space, right? Where your data is fine-tuning the AI, and then you go, okay, give me my top 10 opportunities, right? Look across and tell me where my renewal risks are. Who are the best reps I have that can pacify a red account? Because these are some of the things in a larger organization, you typically hear about them more anecdotally. You may have some BI, some reporting type stuff doing it, but AI can really help drive a lot more into this. Again, what is the combination? This is, I think, very interesting. I've looked at this problem since '99. From the very first project I was on in those days with Siebel, where my customer wanted to do this. And in the last 15, 20 years, I've really not seen a lot of great ways to address this problem, right? What is the best combination of products or services on a complex deal where the chance of winning is high and still we keep a balance of it with our profitability, those kind of things. So, fraud detection is another excellent example that I think we will really see a lot of benefit from AI in. And basically all of this and how then this flows into your automations, your flows, your approval process, and how do you reduce the manually intensive processes today, the grunt work today, and bridge the gap. So you've got your CRM systems like Salesforce, you've got your investments in BI, which is bringing a lot of aggregated data. Now you're going to bring some AI. And how do you bring it all together so that the amount of manual, mundane grunt work that people are doing is progressively reduced? And what you're then looking at is very limited amount of things where we actually add significant value and not spend time writing emails and summarizing data. So that's kind of what we are hearing. I'm going to take a pause here. Curious if anyone has any comments before I move on. I'll get a drink in the meantime.
So the big question I had, you've already sparking some ideas for me. Do you have the native ability to scope where the information comes from with ChatGPT? So if I say I only want it to come from these first order sources or anything like that, to where you can do your summaries, or do you get the full phone book whenever you ask questions?
Awesome. All right, that's a great segue into my next 2 slides. So bear with me and I will answer that question. Any other feedback, anything else that I missed in this? All right. Feel free to write it in the comments if you have. I'm going to move forward. So all of that is great. We've heard all of this. Really, what is needed to make this happen? And then I'll get into, Paul, what you were asking earlier. All right. So you have to send some data to AI for it to offer you a contextually relevant response. So that's email, summary, whatever. How much do you send? How do you do all that? We'll get into that in a minute. But this needs to happen, right? This is a prerequisite. You have to address privacy and security concerns. This is significantly large with literally every customer I spoke, irrespective of the industry and irrespective of the size. The part that I thought was really interesting is how everyone is concerned about this. Quite honestly, I work in security, so maybe I just assumed that, like a lot of people may go, yeah, we don't care about it because we do see some of that in other areas that we operate in today. But I'm surprised with how significantly important it is for literally every business I spoke with. The third part of this, which I thought is again very interesting, is usability. And this is a significant challenge in the attention-starved world that we live in, right? Everything is begging for our attention. And to have yet another chat agent that I'm going to be tinkering around and playing with, I worry that there is the, Clippy from Microsoft Office risk that we may end up with if the AI is not designed and, usable across the board. So that would apply, in user flow context, in prompt engineering. How many of our people are going to learn prompt engineering to benefit from these things? Like, are they going to learn how to write better prompt? So things like that are areas that, we've heard a lot from customers and we've spent a lot of time thinking about. The next thing is, this is again another area that I am very bullish on. We may not have this initially, but there is, like, if you look at the trend, the rise of AI, there is definitely a chance that you may have more than one AI partner, right? Depending on the nature of your business, there will be extremely vertically trained models. So fraud detection for health insurance, right? Fraud detection for online commerce, for financial services, for loans, right? Those may be AIs that are specifically trained. Bloomberg just released Bloomberg GPT, and that is their GPT model trained on 2 billion anonymized records. Now that kind of intelligence, like if you're a mid-sized bank in America, you will not have that, or any financial institute, financial services institution. And you may go, well, can I leverage Bloomberg GPT for certain specific things? And then I can use Einstein GPT for something, and OpenAI and Google Bar, right? So there is going to be that interwoven mix of different AIs depending on the vertical or the industry you operate in and the uniqueness of your requirements, nuances of your business, and things like that. So that is kind of how we see this world evolving. And in terms of how soon can you get there, right? What's happening? This is another part that I was very surprised by. I don't know what rest of the group have thinks. We are working on it quite aggressively. So we think customers, we can bring them, on with some of these use cases with GPTfy. But even otherwise, customers, very large tech companies that we spoke with, the kind of work they are doing, their horizon for this is 6 to 18 months, right? Like a lot of them have already been investing. A lot of New York banks and, investment institutions, FinServe, customers of Salesforce. I spoke with someone and he's like, yeah, we've been playing with, OpenAI for like last 18 months. I did not even know about OpenAI 18 months ago. So there is like a lot of, larger companies that are already getting ready to, roll these things out. Sure, they have internal concerns and this may be aggressive. Maybe it's not 6 months, maybe it's 9 or 12, but it's not very far out. So there is a lot that's happening in this space. And it's really a question of, whether your organization does it or maybe it doesn't and your competitor will do it. Sooner or later, a lot of this is going to happen, primarily because it's kind of gotten over that hype cycle, that we see with some of the other technologies around crypto, around blockchain. Like this thing is now kind of gotten its iPhone moment, Tesla, Starbucks moment, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of approaching that watershed moment where there is legitimate value and every organization is going, we have less people today, more work, laid off a bunch of people. There is cost cutting everywhere. And AI can, hopefully help us do this. So with that, what does that really mean technically and how does it happen? And then let me show you some demos. But before I do, this is kind of how we envision it, right? This is GPTfy. It's a native AppExchange app. And the idea here is that we are focused on these 3 areas, right? We want to enable AI for business and any AI. You can pick the one you want. You can get ChatGPT. We integrate with that to OpenAI, or you can even get it on Microsoft Azure. I actually think a lot of organizations that are security sensitive, and if they are, if they have a relationship with Microsoft Azure or AWS or something, they may just use an OpenAI instance on that. You can use any of the other ones. You may have your own internal hosted AI platform and you may integrate that. So the role that we are playing here is that we enable this prompt engineering. So the kind of questions you want to ask or enable your users to ask, you can package them and sort of release them for specific profiles, specific personas, and they can use it. We've built this all declaratively, so you can actually specify what information would you send to AI, right? If you're writing a follow-up email, if you're doing an account 360 for renewals or for sales, if you're doing case sentiment analysis, what information do you want to send to AI? What fields, what objects, what information do you want to anonymize, right? Because that's the other part of this is security and privacy. When we send information, we anonymize personal data, PII, PHI, like that. And once we get responses back from AI, we re-inject information as appropriate. So these are kind of the areas that strictly very much from the here and now perspective for adoption is very important, right? Like make this simple to use. I don't want my people to learn prompts, make it accessible, very, very efficient, thoughtfully designed, and then make it secure and ensure that we can stay compliant to privacy regulations, things like that. And then finally, the other part of this that we quite firmly believe in is, a lot of customers we spoke with were like, I want to enable this for the enterprise. And what that means is I wanted to work with more than one if I need to, without incurring technical debt, without like months and months of coding and a lot of custom development. I also want to do it in a manner where I can enable it in a very small contained environment without spending millions of dollars, and then kind of build on that. I wanted to summarize data for me in batch mode, right? Like anytime a case is updated, 30 minutes later, we automatically summarize it, for example. I want a lot of this capability to be available via APIs. So my other third party, my non-Salesforce systems can literally call into Salesforce, get summarization, get sentiments, do other things. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff that's in the third bucket. That's sort of how we are seeing this. I'm going to jump in and show you a little bit of demo, but before I do, I'll take a pause. I know I've just thrown a lot of information. So questions, comments, thoughts? All right. I'm still on, right? You can hear me and all?
Yep,
yes.
We can hear you just fine.
All right. Okay, so actually, let me see what my next slide is. So here is kind of the three things that I'd like to show, right? We can look at a salesperson, see them write an email, see ChatGPT or OpenAI generate an email for an opportunity follow-up. We'll look at it from a customer success perspective and see like a sentiment journey for a case. And we'll take a look at renewals in like a customer success person or a salesperson who's looking at doing renewals, and how can we get like a 360 degree of an account. The second part of this is then we get into a little bit of technical under the hood, how easy or how difficult it is, what's the time frame, how are we thinking about it. And as we go through this, I know like a lot of initial part was just me a little bit pontificating about the world as we see it. But as we get into this, if you have questions, definitely ask. And Paul, I'm definitely going to answer what you were asking earlier in this demo. Sounds okay?
Sounds great. Yeah, I think we're all excited to see hands-on.
All right, let's see moment of truth here. So we'll start with looking at an email for an opportunity follow-up. So I have this opportunity here, and just a standard opportunity. And what you see here, this little thing is a Lightning Web component that we've built. And our whole, in the last 4 or 5 years, our design philosophy is to make everything, we build and design look really innocuous and simple. It should be like you go, oh, it's not a big deal. It's not worked. Sometimes in our favor, people think it's like really easy. But we've tried a lot to hide all the underlying complexity. But anyway, so this is Lightning Web component. And what you're seeing here is it has a dropdown, and I can select a prompt and use that. And these prompts are packaged. I'll show that in a little bit. But basically, in your organization, you can have prompts that are tested and optimized by someone in your company or by someone on our team. And then those prompts you can specifically deploy. So you can give it to people by profile or by record type, and then that way make sure that anybody who needs to use something has the appropriate prompt to use. You can also give them the ability to write their own custom prompts. Those are the three things you see here, right? If I click custom prompt, I can just write my prompt and hit enter, and it will execute that. I can do a prepackaged prompt. I have some prompts that I have a prompt that I ran earlier. You can see the response here. So it's kind of what it gave me. If I just run this thing here. So what it now does is it failed. All right. Let me refresh. Sorry. Okay, so let me actually pull that thing back. Pull up email, hit this. Hopefully it runs. Basically what it does is it extracts all the data from Salesforce. It anonymizes it, and then it sends it out to ChatGPT, OpenAI on Azure, gets back a response. And this is the response it got back. And the idea here is that, this is a draft email. So I can now click this little button here, and it's now in this box, and I can make changes to it. It may not be in my tone. I may want to add other specific things. I can do all of those. If you have, your signature or other things, you can apply to this. It's just a standard Salesforce send email box that I'm showing here. I can also copy it in my clipboard and go to Gmail, Outlook, whatever client I use, paste it there and work on it. I send a lot of emails, and I'm sure all of you do. And email is like a particular pain point for me. It takes me insanely large amount of time to write email. I think 15 times. Is it how I should? Is the tone right? Stuff like that. What I've found using it is that it writes me an email and I'm 60% there. I still go, I make tweaks to it, I change it, but it definitely saves me time versus me writing from scratch. So we, our thought here is that this would allow like a lot of salespeople to write their own emails. The other part of
it, you mentioned that it automizes your data that you send over to the OpenAI. How does it do that?
How does it anonymize?
Yes, what do you mean by that?
Yep. So if I go to this response here, so what we are doing is we are extracting this information, and then what we would do is, where it says this person's name, I replaced it with person full, right? Something like that. So basically, we spend a lot of time in data masking, data retention, like the last 4 years. So we do like a lot of these kind of things of identifying PII, and you can define it. So when we send it to AI, we basically send it without some of this information. In other areas, there is information because I didn't completely create the filtering correctly on this. But if I would have, it's supposed to pick all of these. So what happens is what's going to AI should be fairly anonymized information. And then it brings it back here, right? And then I can go and I can inject other things into it when it comes back. So we've kind of built, a fair bit of that now, but our intention is to add more to it. We are adding like regex, block lists. There's like a bunch of things that we're going to add to scan and eliminate a lot of information out of long text fields in particular. It's easy to do on structured data, but on long text fields, this is a hard problem to solve. So we try to eliminate a lot of it. There, in full, honesty, there is a bunch of things that are just near impossible to eliminate. So Rob and Bob, is Guy a person's name or is it just a reference to a person? So there are a lot of those kind of things, which are incredibly hard. And we have looked at third-party data anonymization services also, and it's not that easy to do this. But our plan is that we would reduce, particularly in a lot of scenarios where this is more well-formed, we will reduce a significant amount of PII, PHI sensitive data that is going over the wire to an AI. Did I answer the question? I noticed somebody raised a hand.
Thank you. You did a great job.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, maybe I missed something. What is the biggest difference? It looks kind of like email templates, like kind of like Lightning email templates. Like what exactly is?
I am so glad you asked that question. Let
Awesome.
me answer it. Here's what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, so a couple of differences, right? what it's doing is it pulled all of this based on this context. So when I sent it information, I sent all of this information about, hey, can we do this? Maybe we can do a follow-up call, right? I can do blah, blah, blah. So and this is like just another call, right? Very typical in sales. The customer sometimes just disappears. You're having a great conversation with a prospect and they're like, yeah, let's do a meeting, and then no response. And I'm just doing a follow-up email, right? So that's an example of this. What I'm now going to do is I'm in custom prompt and I'm going to just copy paste the prompt, right? I could have written it manually here. In the interest of time, I'm not doing that. So I'm just saying, hey, let me follow up next week. We can do this. I want you to like add some of these things in bullet points, and also just give it my Calendly link, right? So that this person can, just book time on whatever works for him, right? And I'm going to run this. And typically what happens in this is not sending all, it's no different from if you were to copy a lot of this information and send it over to ChatGPT. And what will happen is, has it already run? Sorry, let me try this again. I don't know, I'm running into some refresh issues here, I think. So what's supposed to happen here is that it will basically create this email, which is very, very specific to my ask. That's what's supposed to happen. I hope the demo gods are with me today. We will know in another minute. But that's where it's different. It's different because it is taking your user context into consideration. Sorry, I'm running into some issue here. Oh, no. So it has, right? It's got this Calendly link that I sent, and I can keep changing it till I like what it's doing. And then I'm starting with this. So it's really where it's different from template is templates don't have context, right? That's how I actually also think the differences between when you think of classic reports and business intelligence versus this. This is bringing some qualitative intelligence of looking at things, summarizing it, doing stuff that you're asking to do. Does that make sense? A little bit?
Yes. Mhm.
All right. Cool. All right. So yeah, so basically that's kind of what it did. It added my Calendly link, it created this. I can just go make changes to it as I see appropriate. And that way, like if you saw in the 10-15 seconds it took, it was able to get here without me spending a lot of time trying to write an email from scratch. So yes, sir, I think somebody else raised a hand. Sorry, I can't see. It just shows me someone raised a hand.
Oh, sure. This is Fernando. My question is, wouldn't this feature compete directly with Einstein's GPT for sales?
Some of it, yeah. All of it, no. I think, some of the things that Salesforce is doing around, basically Salesforce is fine-tuning, some of these models. We are trying to be the glue between, like, here's where we are different, right? If I go back to, this is where we are different, right? You can pick a whole bunch of things. With Salesforce, it'll be, right, like Salesforce in some GPT model. But if you want to use multiple, if you want to use your own, if you have a tie-up with Amazon, Azure, Google Cloud, on-prem, whatever rack space, we don't care, right? Whatever you want to bring. And I'll show that and we get into technically. But you're right, there is definitely overlap. But then also there are differences because our whole intention is to make this something that's here and now. You can use it, you can leverage it, it's anonymized. So we are coming at it from a different perspective than they. Does that answer the question? Sure. Was there another question before I? Absolutely.
Now, there's some chatter going on the chat, but no questions yet.
All right, cool.
Saurabh, maybe it will be good if you can explain the whole anonymization more clearly. Ramesh was asking question what it means by anonymization when we use GPTfy. So maybe for everyone's interest, if you can elaborate, that will help.
Let's do that. All right. I was going to talk a little bit more of that on the technical demo, but let's keep going here. Let's dive a little bit into it now. So this is the prompt that I used, right? And on this prompt, I have a mapping. This is all 100% declarative, right? And I said, hey, on this, use the opportunity and the related task. So we do all of this in data security privacy today anyways. You can literally pull any object that is related to it through lookup, relationship, or through parent, child, whatever, right? I can just pick events, for example, right? So I'm picking these objects randomly, right? And then I can go here and I will say, okay, and this is Paul directly in response to your question. So now I can say to AI, you need to send this information, right? I'm sending description, I'm sending whatever else here, right? And I can just save it. So that's how I'm sending information. Now, what I can also do is I can go here on field mapping, and now I can see there is a sales rep name, and I'm telling it to scan this for PII and anonymize it. So this is kind of what we are doing is when you run this, every unstructured data that we are looking at, every long text field and anything else like that, we are going to scan for the sales rep name. We are going to scan for the customer contact and so on and so forth. And like I mentioned, you're going to add support for regex, for other things. And the whole idea here is, as you continue to, as we continue to do that, you are enriching that filter so that information that is going to AI does not have, these elements, whether it's coming from a case comment, a task, an event, any unstructured field. Structured is easy anyways, but even in unstructured, we will scan and remove, and anonymize everything when it goes to AI. And that way we have, we're trying to significantly reduce the amount of sensitivity around data security, data privacy, things like that. Does that answer the question, Paul?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. And I know somebody else asked that, as Vipul was saying. So if you have another question on that, please feel free to ask. What I'll do is I'll show you what is our next one. All right, customer success, sentiment journey for a case. So from a support perspective, the idea is to look at this and see how we can address cases. Let me go to cases and let me pick a case here. I'm gonna pick this guy. All right, so this is my case. Somebody's having some trouble connecting to a Bluetooth device or something. And there's like a bunch of case comments, and we want to see what's going on with this case. Are they happy? Is our interaction okay? And support I found is interesting. There is a far more, like I heard a lot more, from customers on support than on sales. And the use cases they kept on taking. One is support is definitely being impacted with a lot of layoffs, cuts, and things like that. Secondly, with sales, there is a higher degree of flexibility, right? You're in sales, you go, you know what? I just enter bare minimum information in Salesforce and I do my own thing. I do stuff in Outlook or wherever, right? But support typically tends to have more, more stringent processes around it. So support people who are using Salesforce are definitely in Salesforce. So there is a lot more value there. The other thing that I've heard with a lot of larger companies is if you're a global organization and you have like a more of a follow the sun model, so you have, your reps are working across 2 time zones, you're doing 24/7 coverage of your accounts, you almost always have to have some sort of account summary, right? The other person needs to, if I'm going to wake up in India, China, somewhere in, Europe or Philippines, somewhere, I'm going to look at this and go, okay, what's the update? What's happened? What is the last thing? What do I need to do? Right. So there's a lot of value in support type cases for this. And one of the things that a lot of customers want to do is they are curious about, how is this going? How is this case going? Is it okay? Are they happy? Are they unhappy? And what's the sentiment on the case, right? So I'm going to do this sentiment journey. And we'll see what it does. Basically, at this point, it's pulling case, the related case comment records, and you could do this across the board however you like, and you can get back, a value, right? So it sends all this information and it gets back this data on what the sentiments are, what kind of, are they happy? Are they frustrated? Things like that. I can again write some email to them. I can do other kind of summarizations on it. I haven't tried this. I'm going to try it. If it breaks, just bear with me. I'm going to try something that my team built just on the fly to see how it comes back with stuff. So this one is interesting, right? So I ran this prompt and we had written this well. So basically what we also do is when we get a response, we are able to pull specific values from it and populate it. So we populated this sentiment on this case And that's why you now see like a red line here, right? Like this case is in trouble. The sentiment on it is negative. And if, because it's now a field on a record, you have every power of flow, approval processes, escalation, whatever, right? All the incredible things that Salesforce allows you to do, you can now wire them up into this. And the intention is over a period of time, we'll kind of make these automated. Anytime a case is updated, these summaries get updated, sentiment gets updated. You can fire things. You can make sure that, you know, a customer that is platinum and their cases are red, you know, somebody needs to know higher up. Now they can know, and they can know beforehand. So this is kind of more proactive versus like I close a case, I send a survey request, and on a survey, they kind of ding me and say, terrible experience. And now it's just too late. It's post-mortem analysis. I can only go back and apologize. This gives me an opportunity to fix it. I'm going, wait, why is this thing red? What happened? You know, do we need to get on a call with this customer? So that's the kind of stuff that we are doing here. And, you know, when it's in this scenario, I can just go and I'm like going to pop it up and say, hey, create a task, right? My boss or somebody needs to go do something, right? Like create a task for somebody to look at, review, and see how we can mitigate this beforehand. Take a pause, see if there are questions, thoughts.
Yeah, so I just want to have like a, you know, to make sure that I'm tracking with you. So this is an app available in Salesforce, and is that correct? Or
This is an AppExchange package that is undergoing a security review as we speak.
okay, got it.
So it will be
And right. So you will take this information and send it to ChatGPT, and it will return, like the email example you showed, it will return the content, and then we can fine tune that, right? Is that how it works?
Yep, we send it to OpenAI. We anonymize, we extract, anonymize, send to OpenAI, get a response back,
right?
You know, scrub it again, like bring back the context, any PII names, whatever we need to do, present it here. We can extract information from it, update a particular field.
So you do have the PII, etc. You already have it built in terms of no PII information, etc. Do you have some kind of scrubbing for that, or? Okay.
Correct. Yeah, that's you know what I was. I don't know if I still have it open. This guy. Yeah, so that's what I was showing here, right? So if I go here and I go to my field mapping, see the scan for PII. So I'm scanning on this field and I'm saying, if there is a customer contact, replace it with something like this, right? I have a bunch of them and we'll add more. We'll have support for custom stuff that customers can do. But yes.
Okay, and the way it differs from this Salesforce template is you also have all the case or the sales contact information. So in other words, all the related list items are also taken into account by the AI tool, or is that what I understood?
Yeah. So we are doing that. Oh, sorry.
That's something extra that you're doing. So that is where the value comes in, right? Because you're looking at the whole 360, in other words, something like that of the.
Yeah, I think, So two things. Quite honestly, I don't know the entire vision of Salesforce and all the things it will do, their timelines. I know they're working very aggressively and they're Salesforce. So obviously they'll have very cool stuff. Our intention was to find the quickest way our customers can get to value, right? Like you don't have to wait pretty much other than just us getting our thing through security approval. You don't have to wait. If you decide to do a pilot with us, we can start next week, right? So the whole intention is how quickly can our customers get to the value from AI, and they can test it out, right? This needs to be something that's a really small test, and they can go, does it work for us? They can, optimize the experience, iron out the kinks, have their security review and approve it. You don't have to, wait a long time for that. And obviously we are a smaller company, right? So we are more, and we are coming from a very data security privacy perspective. So we are eager to build out iron out any kinks wherever customers go, oh, these are the some things that are a must-have. So some of the customers I'm working with right now, like a lot of this has come from them. They're going, well, my security is not going to approve this until you do this, 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 and this. So we are, working furiously to kind of eliminate all of those things so that customers can accept it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. The only other thing I would add to this is, like, we very firmly believe that, it's really hard to solve this problem by making assumptions on behalf of customers. So that's why this whole thing that you look at here is, this gives you the flexibility to say what objects are relevant for this. If I have to send a follow-up email, what related information other than an opportunity would I want to send, right? Maybe it is events, maybe it is activities, maybe it is, something else. So you can select here and say, this is what I want to send. These are all things related to opportunity in Salesforce as a master detail or lookup. And you can keep on doing this. You can do it at a parent-child level. You could have gone even further down if there was another level of linkage. So yeah, you can keep on doing that. I think we support 4 or 5 levels of this. So you have immense flexibility in what data you want to send, what information in it should be anonymized. And our hope is that by doing all of those things, we alleviate the sort of risk and issues around security and privacy. All right. Any other question before I show you a few more things? All right, I will go to the third one then, which is for an account. Now we are on an account and we want to do like an account 360 view. Let me refresh it just to make sure. And what you will see, this account has an opportunity related. I think it has a case, it has some activities, right? There's a bunch of things on this account. And one of the things that we typically see is, you need to have an account summary. Maybe you have a pipeline review call, or maybe you have customer success call. Maybe you have a new A that's, gotten a territory. There's some reassignment of accounts and territories, and a person comes in and they're like, okay, I'm going to go through every nook and cranny, on this account in terms of information and read everything. But like, I first need, give me just this 30-second, 45-second overview of what's going on with this account, right? So again, the idea is that we can pull a lot of this information, send it to an AI, summarize it, bring it back, present it here. And while it's doing that, the way we are thinking about that is keep it very, very simple, give information that is, relevant and gives you a bird's eye view. And then from then you can do whatever you want to. So we also track how much time it saved. And in this case, it said 20 seconds because we wanted to be really conservative and not it should look a bit realistic, but I am pretty certain if you had to read the related cases and the related opportunity and what's going on in them, then it may take you more than 20 seconds. So the idea is, if you get this initial high level in a few seconds, then you know what this is about. You may just look at a bunch of these accounts and you go, hey, what's happened on it? And then you can decide, what I want to do next. Do I want to focus on this now, focus on this later, things like that. I'll take a pause, see if there are any questions or comments. No? All right. I think one thing I forgot to show earlier was, so I'm going to go back on my case because I had a bunch of things here. So you can see that, I have this case, and we also keep a track of the previous ones. So you can basically keep on looking at what was done earlier, all the sort of responses you've gotten. And as I was talking about design, a lot of the AI solutions you look at, including what Salesforce is doing. So it's a more chat interface where you can kind of keep chatting. And we looked at this and we felt it, that whole chat interaction model seemed a little too chatty, for the lack of a better word. So we took a different approach. Our approach was very, very, here is a bunch of package prompts. We want somebody to be able to use it as quickly as they can and get out of here. This is not here where we want you to spend a lot of time. We want you to get your information, put it in an email, put it in a task, put it on your clipboard, whatever, and just move on. So that was the intention of why it was designed this way. If there are any questions or comments, please let me know. I have 1 or 2 more slides that I'd like to show you guys. All right, I'm moving on. Okay, so this is the business user demo that we just did, right? So again, to the question, like, what is in it for you, right? Why should you care? Our whole design premise on this is that we want to be able to give a 1 hour go live. And, it may sound ridiculous for a lot of companies that we work with. I think they'll probably spend 3 to 6 months just looking at it and going in conversations, clearance, this and that, and we get all that. But the whole intention is make it 100% declarative, yet incredibly flexible. We are very fortunate that we've been doing that for 4 or 5 years with some very, very large customers. We do that in masking, data retention, all of that. So the idea here was, how do we make this really, really simple for somebody to try, test, and use it? The idea here also is that you can leverage your existing Salesforce investments. All you're buying is like this little AppExchange package. You're not buying some massively large, expensive AI model, and which is fine-tuned for you, or you fine-tune it, all of that. Our intention is get immediate value, make sure that it, you kind of cut through the hype, give some value to your business, and they go, okay, this makes sense, and then kind of build on that, right? Do other things eventually if you need to. You may just find that this is enough. You may find that this is not, and you need to do more. So we want to bring AI to the masses as quickly and securely. And we are looking at it in 2 ways, right? We want to have GPTfy with 2 options, a turnkey model and a bring your own key model. And the idea here is that with a turnkey model, and I think that's my next slide, with a turnkey model, your GPTfy is going against our OpenAI services. Our OpenAI was earlier hosted on OpenAI, the company. Now it's hosted on Azure. So Azure is the only other cloud provider that offers it. So the idea here is, if you don't want to have the whole manage your own AI thing, you don't have the expertise, maybe you have a very small user group that wants to use it, and this is a great model to use, right? This is hassle-free, you get it, you give us some feedback, we add more things, it makes it really easy to dip your toes in AI and then figure out and embrace it or go a different direction. The bring your own key model, I see that more for like larger businesses that have either already invested in AI or intend to, or businesses that are highly security conscious and they're like, no, we are not going to run it on your infrastructure, we'll do it. And they can have it on Azure, their OpenAI, they can have their OpenAI on OpenAI, they can use Cohere, Bloomberg GPT, whatever. There's a ton of AIs out there and a lot more are coming every day. So the bring your own key model allows you to do that. It enables your internal IT to manage your AI infrastructure. And then all GPTfy is doing is it's the glue between your Salesforce from a user adoption, security, anonymization, prompt perspective. And then, everything on the back end from an AI perspective is completely with your folks. And then that way, you can ensure that there is appropriate security, there is everything that you would want, you have the ability to do here. Like we are in both of these scenarios, our role is really mostly in this native Salesforce native app where we are extracting data, anonymizing, sending and bringing back and doing some automation around it. And these are services that are running on third-party infrastructure, either ours or yours. So that's kind of how we think that, for a lot of our customers, we can get them enabled with AI in Salesforce very, very quickly. No code to write, no technical debt. Just get this thing up and running, start with a few prompts, build, that adoption, identify the business value, and then grow it further from there. Or not, you may go, this is not for us, doesn't work as well as we thought. And then, you've not invested millions of dollars into something. Because I'm sure a lot of you have seen this. I've been in IT for 20 plus years. I've seen a lot of investments into master data management systems, into BI systems, into a lot of large, big technology initiatives. And some of them did not go anywhere. There were poor return on investment. And this whole solution hopefully gives you the ability to very, very quickly really validate how much business value this is getting you. You Worst case scenario, you've spent some money with us and you go, well, we tried, doesn't work for us. We are a different kind of business, or maybe AI is not mature enough. And then you can walk away. So that is kind of how we foresee it. I have one more really quick thing to show you in terms of a technical demo. So let me do that. Some of it I already showed about the prompts and all of that. But our intention is two things. So one is this is a list of some of the connections, right? So you can bring your AI, these are some of the ones that we are connecting with, right? So we are connecting with OpenAI ChatGPT, OpenAI on Azure, with Cohere. Some of these we are connecting. The other ones, we'll connect as they are enabled. We have some open applications with some of them. The idea here is it becomes completely declarative, right? You're not writing code unless there is something inherently unique from a security standpoint that your company needs to do. And the intention is, right, this is my connection. I have a bunch of parameters here, and I have associated these connections with prompts. So I can have different prompts that, go against different AI if you need to. You may not need this today. If you need it in future, it's all available. Again, done in very, very Salesforce classic standard best practices way. We use, sorry, I'm missing the named credentials and external credentials. And then all of this is, built with Apex, 100% native. So that's on the connection side. If you're a technologist, this is how we are doing it. A lot of our customers have extremely high security requirements, and this has allowed us to do that. The second part of this that is very interesting is that, this product will come with a catalog of prepackaged prompts. So you may have some. So I can go into my Boost Sales, and there's like a bunch of prompts, and I can say, okay, I'm interested in enabling this prompt. So I can do that. And then I can, look at what's the mapping, all of that. And that's how we are, right? And then you can give it to certain type of profiles. If there were record types for account, then it would show here. You can assign it to certain type of record types. So we've tried to build a lot of that administrative things in it so that it becomes really, really easy. One of the things that has always worked in our favor is we're a product company. We want to do this as soon as possible for our customers and get out of their hair. We are not a consulting company. Our intention is not to stick around. Professional services is a tiny portion of our revenue, and we want to keep it that way. So as you see here, a lot of this is intended to be really, really simple. If I go to my prompts, what you will see is like, I'm going to pull up this prompt here, right? And this is how my prompt looks. It's connected with some of these things. If I was creating a new one, I'm just going to go here, click a new, and I can just create my prompt. So the idea is, you write a prompt name, you connect it to an object, which object this will apply to, what kind of AI I'm using, what kind of prompt is it? Is it custom where user can enter information? Is it text, or do I want a JSON response back? And there's a lot more complexity around some of these things that, in the interest of time, I'm not going into. But again, the intention is, once we have you onboarded, you or your admins, or even like a business analyst or someone who's really sharp and very keen on learning prompt engineering type things, they can just build their own, and they can keep on enabling it for, profile after profile after profile, things like that. So really, I think that's kind of my last slide. One more. So pricing, we are pricing it for the two models. For turnkey, it's about $29.99 per user per month. If you have a bring your own key, then it's $19.99 per user per month. And we are doing a pilot. You can go to GPTfy.ai, which is our website, and you can sign up for a pilot if you like. You just click on talk to us and fill this form, and we'll get in touch with you, and we can figure it out, from their timing and everything that you're looking at.
Do you have these available on Trailhead?
No, not yet. I need to first get through the AppExchange and then kind of do that.
All right, I'll be looking forward to the Trailhead Playground version of it.
Absolutely. But questions, comments, I see there are 33 comments in the chat. Vipul or Rahul, I don't know if you guys got a chance to read them. Are there specific ones we should take? And I would also appreciate any feedback, anything else, Paul, if you want to.
Yeah, no, I'm still interested in getting trying to get conversant in the technology. It's still bleeding edge. It's very exciting. I was just telling somebody on the side that it's still very much in the hype cycle with similar stuff like blockchain, VR, and quantum computing. But I think AI will have achievable outcomes much faster than those other technologies that are still a little bit of a problem looking for a solution. AI's got some power, and we've got to train our brains to think in terms of nonlinear problem solving and open up to what these can do, and to be able to use them and write use cases for them. It's still coming up. We're still in that imagineering stage a lot of places.
Right, right. I'm curious, any feedback, from other folks? Are there things that we didn't talk about? Is this looking interesting? What are the objections that you would have to something like this? What would you, want to try this? Or do you like, this is terrible? No way, no how?
So, Saurabh, you did touch upon private key versus using our turnkey solution and all that, but I think maybe a lot of people still don't understand they can have their own private instance of ChatGPT on Azure or their server. So maybe if you can elaborate more on that so that everyone understands what kind of instance they can have to better understand why we have two different options, that will be good.
Yeah. So if you use Azure, I'll take the Azure example. That's a simpler example. If you if you're in Azure shop, even if you're not, you can basically go on Azure, sign up, and your company can get OpenAI. So think of OpenAI as an open source GPT, right? It just so happens that when you go to ChatGPT, you're going to a company's website that is running OpenAI underneath it, powering every query, every interaction you're doing is OpenAI. And OpenAI today is available through two sources. One is, of course, OpenAI, the company itself, and the second one is Azure. So if you go to Azure, what do they call it? Cognitive services. So you can basically get ChatGPT, for lack of a better word, or OpenAI hosted on Azure. So if you are a company and you go, well, we are a regulated sector, or we'd like to have our own instance of OpenAI, you can definitely go to Azure, sign up. I think they have a wait period. You have to fill a form right now for it, but you can do that, and they will give you an instance of OpenAI. That is your instance. So what then happens in Salesforce is you go into Salesforce, and if you have GPTfy installed, you can provide your OpenAI API keys. So everything that's happening is happening against your instance of OpenAI. It's not happening on it's not happening on ChatGPT's, right? So think of it as your own database on Azure. Bad way to explain it, but put simply, your server on Azure for AI services, which is exactly what ChatGPT is running. Under the hood, we are all running OpenAI here. So that is the model when you think of bring your own key. Your IT manages it, you manage it, you put your credit card against that, and any calls that are happening are metered here, and your organization is paying directly to them. If you decide not to do that for whatever reason, you go, well, not interested, we only want to use it for 20, 30, 40 reps. We don't want the whole overhead of doing that. Then you can just get this from us. Our OpenAI instance is also running on Azure. And then every call that you're making is going pretty much here, except that it's using our API, our keys, our Active Directory, authentication, all of that. And that way, this is completely turnkey. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to understand this. You don't have to provision it. You don't have to do anything else. Yes, Fernando?
Yes, you said that the turnkey solution is using your own API, right? API key, sorry. in that case, let's say you sell this product to 20 customers. Will they all be using that same API key under your Azure OpenAI?
No, thank you. Excellent question. So we've built an entire architecture on the Azure side. So what we would give our customers in turnkey is an Active Directory credential, and they're going against an AD credential, and our OpenAI key is not exposed. We are not sharing it with any customer directly. It is encapsulated on the Azure side. Because we also need to do this from a billing consumption perspective. So that's why we are not sharing any of our OpenAI keys with anybody. You get an AD credential, and then your AD is authenticating, and then internally we are doing our own usage tracking and things like that to make sure that we know where the calls are coming from and things like that.
Excellent.
Yes, sir. Lawrence?
I think you answered my question, but maybe not. The thought is, will you be commingling my data with Fernando's data, for example, when we do those using the shared key?
Yes, that's a great question. So today, the way Azure does OpenAI is that I can't have one instance for every customer. My entity cannot. Yours can. So if that's a concern, your company would, this is the model that I frankly, if you ask me, any organization that is on the larger side, this works better. We do reduce the risk here significantly because one, we are anonymizing data that's going, and two, it's literally a request response, right? Like for everything that you're sending us, we are sending you back. Now, OpenAI has introduced the idea that you cannot do data retention, like there is a preference in it. At least ChatGPT has exposed it. We have not investigated that enough. But the day it gets to a point where we can turn it off, where it doesn't keep any data, we will. Like, it's great for our business to not have to deal with this at all. But today, the way it is, you're spot on. It is one instance that all the requests that GPTfy will make would go against today in Azure. We are talking with them. I think it's just too new for Azure also. So Microsoft has been particularly careful about how they are opening this up. Like I said, like this is, you can't just sign up and get it. You have to fill a form. They do some internal review. But I personally see a lot of these as, teething problems. In the next 3 to 6 months, I'm pretty certain they'll be like, you can, have more instances, you can manage it differently. Like a whole notion of multi-tenancy today is really, it's actually really multi-tenant, like how Salesforce is, right? One database, everybody is on it. It's the same idea here. Does that answer the question, Lawrence?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, of course. But frankly, I still think for a lot of companies, if you are a mid-size, Salesforce customers or larger, and if you have internal IT, our team will help set this up, and then your team can manage these credentials. We actually really like that model more because we don't, we are in the security and privacy business. We have really no interest in handling anybody's data, managing these backend services. We have zero interest in that. The reason we did come up with these two offerings is because we know that a lot of customers don't want to go that route, right? Maybe you would just have mass data in some sandboxes and you would just try it out, pilot it first, see how much you like it, or you would try it with some fake data. So the idea is that for small or medium enterprises that don't want to spend the money or don't have the reason, and the security controls that we're providing suffice, this model works well. Anybody else, you can get your own key. They're really, really simple. I'm just bit of grunt work to go through, but no rocket science here, and we can definitely help set it up and enable those customers.
So Saurabh, one of the places that I saw Einstein try to branch out and didn't see a ton of success in, and it's a one that only a couple of places have shown some actual success, is next best action. Have you worked in any of the demos or working models on where you're able to analyze your own data and pull that in and see, yes, in most cases, this is likely the solution?
So I'm actually going to ask Rahul if he's on the call. He's spent a lot more time on this, And Rahul, if you want to talk a little bit more of maybe 3 and 4, that would be good also. But
was 3 and 4, sorry.
Yeah, just get me out of trouble and tell me that the ACN acronym there is not Accenture, so that I don't get in trouble with my bosses.
No, it's not.
Okay.
I don't know why our tester put that, but yeah, I'm going to remove that. That's a good call. Oops. No. We
So
don't do business with Accenture today.
So what we are seeing is on the next best option is that, if you send, like AI is really smart. I consider OpenAI, ChatGPT more smarter than me and many of us over here. So as long as we are providing it relevant information, I have seen that it returns back a next best action that is very, very appropriate. So the trick is really what kind of information you are sending to AI. And that's why, the entire framework we have built, there is a possibility for you to exactly define that if you are sending an opportunity, then what all information do you want to send? Do you want to send just the opportunity or also related emails, or maybe there's a survey that happened, you want to send that? And we are already testing it because for us, it's all declarative. So we test between, 3.5 and 4. And we are finding that when we go to 4, OpenAI 4.0, the answers are becoming even better. It's just that 4 takes an incredible amount of time because it does predictions in billions. And because it does so many predictions for every next word, it is super slow. Like, when I run some of these next best actions on 4, I'm finding that it takes like maybe a minute and a half. And I'm always worried. I'm like, what? I only have 120 seconds of outbound call limit on Salesforce. And I'm like, I want this 4 to run faster. And maybe all those things will improve because, Azure is also new on 4 and they're kind of adding more hardware and all of that. So eventually all of these things will become much faster. But a short answer to your question is that next best action you can expect next best action to be really good if you're sending it the right information.
Well, I guess the question was, have you modeled something? Do you have like not necessarily a demo here, but yeah, is this it? Okay.
I can show you. It's all declarative. It takes us like 15 seconds to do that.
So I just did a next best action on the opportunity. Where was I? Let me go find the opportunity that we were looking at. I can't even remember what opportunity was I looking at. External view. Oh, I removed, right? So this is I just did that next best action. I just put that in custom and it came back with this thing here. For this, I think that for this particular opportunity, this is the next best action. What we are doing right now, a lot of, Paul, is just kind of figuring out what Rahul was saying, right? 3 versus 4, what are the nuances? Because frankly, we can build all kind of really cool stuff. If the AI doesn't return good responses, it's all dead in the water. So we are looking at that. I'll show you another example here. So where was this? I was just calling, right? So this is coming from AI4, right? I went between ChatGPT model 4 and model 3, Dev 2. And OpenAI 4 is got larger limits, so we can send more text to it. It is trained on more billions of more, data points and things like that. And this is kind of what it came back versus the earlier one, which was on 3. This is what it came back with. So we are looking at a lot of these. And I think for a lot of customers, this is the part that is going to be crucial. The reason we designed this whole thing this way is that, if you are, your organization may have a few people who are just going to get into this and really figure out an optimized prompt that works for their specific business, their objects, their fields, all of it. It has to work for your unique nuances. And that's the part where I like how, we've tried to take a framework approach versus like one size fits all.
Right.
And then, sorry, go ahead.
To be really successful and get meaningful information from AI, every organization would need very, very sharp business analysts. It's their turf, honestly. I mean, as much as I depend on my engineers, I realize that they can build a really good, very scalable infrastructure a framework, but it's really business analysts that need to figure out, okay, what kind of information do we need to send? What kind of information, processing are we getting back from OpenAI? And then package it in the sense of a prompts, and we allow all of those things. So this is a tool that your BAs would be using. When you install GPTfy, you'll get a catalog, and we will have some 100+ prompts across cases, opportunities, leads, and all of those, which are very highly curated, and we believe they work really well on our test data. But we don't know how they will perform when they actually start working on your data. And then you may have other custom objects and custom fields, and you would still have to go and update those mappings, because the mappings we will give you will only be pointing to standard objects, standard fields. So if you are not engaging your business analysts, you should, because they are the guys who will make this actually anyone's worth.
Fernando, my friend.
Yeah, let's say a client purchased this service. That client has, let's say, 100 agents, and one of them finds this GPT thing is very fun to play with and decides to go hog wild and, submit a lot of requests. And at the end of the month, the client receives a big bill. Is there any cost management?
Man, I'm so glad you asked these questions. I forget to show stuff. I'm not a sales guy, so I always forget things. So we've built this whole thing around, we track usage within Salesforce and on Azure. But for the customer, like, this is updated in real time. So you can look at it and, as real time as dashboards get updated. But you can look at this and you can see, who's making calls, how much time they're saving. And the whole idea is that, you can make a business case internally and you can see, is it valuable or not? And because all the responses that I was showing you, everything is a record, it's a response, record. So if you need, you can have automation, you can have reports, all of that you can have inside Salesforce to make sure that, somebody's just not made 1,000 calls and, or whatever, 1,000 calls a day. They're like, let me do this and let me do that. But yeah, so we've put in that stuff. Nobody asked us this question yet, but I think it's interesting. We could, if we needed to eventually, you could have some logic where we could build some logic where you could go, this is the quota, right? If somebody hits this, don't let them make any more calls, or notify someone so that we can make sure, end of the month, you're not receiving a really large bill from GPTfy or Azure.
What we are finding is that, OpenAI charges you 3 cents every 1,000 tokens. And based on whatever we have tested, we have seen that most of these analyses, whether you're writing an email or doing a summary, they are typically under 800 tokens. So think of it that every call your agent is making, and if you're using your own infrastructure, OpenAI or whatever, you're probably going to charge, it's going to cost you around 2 cents every time they hit the button. Yeah. So maybe in a month's time, you would exactly know who is using it, misusing it. And it's not a fun thing that people would just be hitting the button all day long. So I'm not terribly worried about that. The other way to think about these things are that things like Cohere, which is a Salesforce investment, those are much cheaper AI offerings. And we are building all kind of integrations. So if for some customers, they have ton and ton of users, hundreds, thousands of call center agents, and cost is is a barrier, then there are Cohere, which is much more cheaper. It's like, I think it's 5 times cheaper than OpenAI. And it's a competitive market. All of these rates will come down. You'll get, you'll get cheaper rates when you buy more tokens and all of that. So all of that will become more accessible, I believe.
Yeah. And that's kind of our view of this is, right? Like, you may start with one of these, but you may end up with a different one. And we just want it to be very plug and play model where you can do that. And that's where, to the earlier question that someone was asking, that's where we are different from like Einstein GPT. We are not married to any AI platform per se. And we just want to have our customers have the freedom to do whatever makes sense for their business, do it at a lesser cost, quicker, faster level, and do it securely. That's really the long and short of our pitch.
Yeah, whatever we have seen with Einstein GPT, we do not believe it's a framework. It's a very, very highly optimized use cases that they are implementing, and they will work very well for if those are the use cases you care about. But if you have different other use cases, I'm thinking it's not a framework, at least whatever I have seen so far. Maybe it'll go back into their idea, planning, and then into their roadmap, and then it'll show up. So that's kind of also the other difference.
All right. I know we overshot time, but really great conversation. Paul, I'm going to hand over the baton to you so you can tell us.
Yeah, no, this is great. Thank you very much for this. It generated great discussion. I'm glad we got a good overview of all the different moving pieces there, and I feel like I have a better understanding of how ChatGPT works and GPTfy. So, mission accomplished.
Awesome. And for everyone, I'm on LinkedIn, so please, definitely connect with me. You can connect with GPTfy, follow them, and that way, you can look at what we are doing. We are doing another event, which seems like it's pretty popular. So 775 people are going to join on this Friday. I think you may have had enough of it, but hey, if you're curious, swing by again. And like I mentioned, we'll be at in Austin for Texas Dreaming. Would love to say hello. And Paul, you and I can coordinate and see if we can do something in the
Yeah,
Dallas.
no, that'd be great. That'd be great. Yeah, looking forward to it. Anybody else have any other questions before we call it a night?
No, but thank you. That was very impressive.
Thank you so much.
Great stuff. Yeah, got a lot of juices flowing. So
Yeah. Now I'm gonna have to go down to Texas Dreaming to see it live.
Thank you. Yeah, we are very excited, looking forward to it. So hopefully happens soon. And
I want to save the chat before you hang up.
oh yeah, how do we do that? How do you do that? Does it let you? I think
when we disconnect, it'll start saving the video and it'll save the chat down to me. So if you need something in particular, Lawrence, I
got the chat. Thanks.
You got it?
You had some good links in there earlier.
Gotcha.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Cool. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining this month. Sorry about the in-person, the lack of in-person, but weather happens here in Texas, especially. So, all right, we will see everybody next month.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks,
Bye.
Paul. Thanks for having us. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.